GamingBolt presents 15 stealth mechanics that make absolutely zero sense. Stealth video games are one of my favorite genres, but even I have to admit that most of the time they make no sense. We can all forgive video gamey things like a third-person camera or enemies not being able to see from more than 10 feet away, but some stuff in stealth games really does make you scratch your head. Seeing through walls. This has become a mainstay in stealth games recently, and it doesn't make any sense. You can press a button to activate Instincts or Senses mode, or whatever the game calls it, and you can magically see enemies through walls and other solid objects. Sometimes you have to tag enemies first, but even still, it makes no sense that you can see these enemies at all times. Understandably, it's about allowing the player to plan their movements and not have to worry about getting spotted out of nowhere. At the best of times, it breaks immersion, and at the worst of times, it makes going undetected far too easy. Constant crouch walking. This is also something we've been seeing a lot recently. It started in Splinter Cell, but we're seeing it more and more often after Metal Gear Solid 4. This is really a small thing, but think about it. Get down on your knees and start walking around and see how long you can do it without destroying your knees and your back. Also see if you can do it at the insane speeds some protagonists can as well. Again, this is a small thing and it makes sense in a certain situation, but to do it for entire playthroughs of games, it does get silly. Enemy field of view cones. Remember in the original Metal Gear Solid you had the Silician radar, which pointed out where enemies were? It had those white cones which represented the guard's vision. How exactly did that work? How did the radar know how well they could see? And why did every enemy have the same sized field of view? Okay, in Metal Gear Solid it made sense because they were all genetically enhanced super soldiers, but what about other games? Invisibility cloaks. Invisibility cloaks are like something out of Harry Potter. Actually, they are from the classic Wizardry series. You could argue that the military is working on such technologies these days, but there's nothing that currently exists which makes the wearer totally invisible, and nothing like the chameleon suit we saw in Metal Gear Solid 4. Detection meters. You know how sometimes enemies in stealth games now don't immediately spot you? They'll stare for a second, and the meter will pop up that fills up the more you're in their line of sight. It's almost like you have to stand up and do a dance for them to spot you. Usually there's a meter that'll be green if you're okay, it'll go yellow or orange if you're in someone's view, and red when you're spotted. How does that work, and why? Is the meter embarrassed? Is it shy and blushes when too many people are staring at it? Guard spotting a dead body and not caring. Have you ever played a stealth game where you killed a guard, then another one came along and didn't really care? They'd look at the body for a second, then say, "Oh well," and continue about their business. Luckily, this doesn't really happen much these days, but early stealth games where this happened always lived the mood, for better or worse. Guards see you, give up after losing you a minute later. To this day, stealth games still struggle with one basic concept: guards spotting you. If you get spotted, the guards will usually raise an alarm and chase after you. If you manage to escape, they'll look for you for a minute or two, and then just give up. Maybe they'll be on heightened alert, or there'll be a few more guards around, but that's it. They know a trespasser is there, but it's like they don't care. Why don't they search every nook and cranny and every possible hiding place for hours? It would make the game much harder, but that's the point. There should be a stiff penalty for getting caught in a stealth game. Killing someone in a crowded area and no one sees you. This is a problem in some of the Hitman games. There'll be a big crowd of people, you slit someone's throat or you poison someone's drink in front of everyone. The person flops down and dies, and no one saw it. Being sneaky and subtle about it is one thing, but it should be pretty obvious the guy next to the recently killed person is a top suspect. Jumping into water and suddenly no one can find you. If water in video games doesn't kill you instantly upon touching it, then it'll probably save your life. This happens outside of stealth games too, so maybe game developers don't know how water works. We've all done this. You get spotted somewhere, you're outnumbered and outgunned, so you jump in the water and everyone instantly loses you. Sometimes they even see you jump into the water and still don't know where you went. Dumb enemy AI. Some of the items on this list all tie back to one simple problem: bad enemy AI. Again, this isn't something limited to stealth games, but it's especially obvious in them. Enemies losing you after seconds, losing you when you go into the water, taking 10 or more seconds to notice you when they're looking right at you. But what usually hurts stealth games is the fact that guards always patrol in specific patterns. It'd be great to see guards change patterns and adapt, moving to different areas depending on the player's actions. Hiding an event and enemies don't look in there. Alien Isolation is a great exception to this, but 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to hide an event and guards don't think to look in them. There's a very obvious person-sized hole where someone wanting to be sneaky would want to go, but for whatever reason, enemies never think to look in them. It's not even a case of them not going in. Most of the time, they don't even bother just looking in there. Stealing disguises and changing them in seconds. This is something we see in Hitman a lot. It makes sense in terms of gameplay, and if you think about it from that perspective, this is actually a great idea. You don't want to be there for ages to change outfits, but at the same time, it makes no sense that you can change clothes in seconds. It also doesn't make sense that nobody notices you're wearing different clothes. In the Hitman games, Agent 47 has a very specific and noticeable profile. You'd think people would notice the big bald man who was wearing a suit just a few minutes ago is now dressed as a server or a Santa Claus. Standing in a group of people and guards ignoring you. This is something that happens mostly in earlier Assassin's Creed games. You could kill a guard, run around a corner, and just stand amongst a group of random people and the guards run right past you. You'd think the group of people would notice the person out of breath they don't know who won't leave them alone, stealth kills being more powerful. In RPGs, like recent Fallout or Elder Scrolls games, your stealth kills pack a more powerful punch. If you're hidden and shoot someone in the head, there's a good chance they'll die instantly, where if you were attacking them as normal, they might not have. Why? Why is shooting someone in the leg from behind a wall more powerful than shooting them in the face in front of them? A guard spots you and every enemy instantly knows where you are. This is perhaps the worst mechanic of most stealth games. You get spotted by a guard after they stare at you for several seconds. They go, "Huh?" And instantly every enemy knows exactly where you are and are on you in seconds. Some games try to explain this by having guards radio their companions, but even then, they only ever say they spotted an intruder. They never tell their companions where they spotted you. They just shout and somehow enemies miles away come running. Like this video? Why not give us a like and subscribe? We try and upload amazing videos almost every single day. Thank you for watching this video and we'll see you on the next one.